I feel like a lot of music came out in 2022. Like a lot. Like every 10 minutes, damn near, there was a new album that came out. It was hard to keep up. I'm not gonna lie. It was difficult. But I'm not gonna complain. It's a good thing. It was definitely a better year than 2021 as far as music goes. I feel like a lot of people were saving up their projects for when the world kind of opened back up again. So it makes sense that 2022, a lot of the bigger artists and a lot of artists in general will start dropping their music. A lot of really good albums this year, but not a lot of like classics. Like not a lot. I can't really like not a lot of masterpieces. I don't know if there's really one masterpiece. Maybe one classic. I don't know. It's hard to say. You know what I mean? It's we're in a different time. It's not really about albums anymore. I feel like it's more just about songs, like a collection of songs, which is disappointing sometimes, but what are you gonna do? I've just kind of learned to make my own playlist. You know what I mean? But there are some people still keeping that good quality album shit alive. So I guess for my 2022 top albums of the year, I want to kind of pay homage to those people. Shout out to them. But I feel like from the big artists, it wasn't what I was truly expecting. And I don't want to say disappointed, but like I think I was expecting something else. But anyways, let's not take up too much time. Let's get into these are my top 10 rap albums of 2022. My criteria is basically just what I think is high quality music, high quality rapping, and did I actually like it? Like, did I actually play it? It's not about, oh, this is some Grammy bait worthy shit. It's just I actually enjoy this shit and I believe it's high quality and I believe that they put the effort in and I believe this is good art. So with that being said, number 10, Her Loss by Drake, 21 Savage. You know, it's hard to really rate Drake albums these days. I think it's been a while since Drake has really been like an album artist. You know, Take Care, if you're reading this, is too late. So Far Gone, if you count that as an album. And my favorite Drake album, Nothing Was the Same. I think those are like peak Drake making an actual like cohesive body of work. I think kind of like from Views on, we kind of just got like selections of songs, which is fine. You know what I mean? If that's what they want to do, I'm not complaining because Drake does put out a lot of good shit. So he might put out a playlist like More Life or whatever. And yeah, it may not be a cohesive project and theme, but there's slappers on there. There's slaps. Like there's good songs. You know what I mean? And like even Scorpion, again, too long, too many songs, but in there I could pull enough songs to create kind of my own playlist and my own album out of that if I need to. Which for me, if I'm critiquing it, yes, it does bring down the value of the album to me if it's not presented as a complete body of work and I have to adjust and do things to make it better myself. But it doesn't change the fact that Drake still makes amazing music. Also, same thing goes with 21 Savage. You know, and Her Loss was cool. It wasn't amazing, but it was cool. It was fun, you know. Just one of those albums you have fun with, really, to be honest. Bangers on it. 21 Savage, I feel like he held his own on it. I appreciated that Drake let him have that timestamp record to himself and let him do his thing. That was really dope of Drake to do that, and 21 Savage killed that shit. I would have loved to have a Drake verse on it just because that's part of like Drake's legacy, that whole thing. But I do think it's a cool thing that he did to give that alley-oop to 21, and 21 did his thing on it. He impressed me a lot lyrically on this album. It does kind of feel like a Drake featuring 21 Savage album, but it's cool, man. It's a dope album. I'm happy it came out. You know what I mean? I think the days of waiting for that Drake classic 10 to 14 songs, like straight bars, and you know, or even just getting back to that like So Far Gone kind of Drake or Take Care Drake. I don't think we're getting that anymore. I think we're just getting like smashes and hits. And you know, I do appreciate that Drake tried something different on Honestly Never Mind. He tried something new. I appreciate that as a creative. That's dope. He tried something new. A lot of people didn't really like it. I like it. It's just not a rap album, so I can't really put it on this list, but I think it was a dope album. Number 9, I'm gonna go with Lil Sim's album No Thank You. It took me a while to figure out that Lil Sims was an actor in Top Boy, and that's like one of my favorite shows. She's just so talented, man. Like, how could she be so good at at rapping and acting at that high of a level. Like, it's crazy. Like, I really, it's kind of dope because I got to take in her skill set separately before I even knew it was the same person. So I was just like, oh shit, that's whoever's playing that character in Top Boy, like, that's a really good actor. And oh shit, this person Lil Sims is a really dope rapper. Now I take it as the same person. My mind is blown. I'm like, holy fuck, that's a lot of talent in one person. And you know, I'm new to the Lil Sims world, but you know, this album in particular, her last album was really good too, but No Thank You in particular, it's a really soulful, raw, vulnerable, empowering album. And I honestly, I could truly say I think Lil Sims is one of the best lyricists today. Like, on some real shit. Like, her lyrical ability, her pen is up there. It's dangerous. I think she'd give a lot of guys a run for their money. You know, I love the storytelling. I love the honesty. You know, she brings you in almost like you're having a conversation with a friend you haven't seen in a while. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and the production is amazing, like soulful, like the orchestral elements that they added to it. You know, you got the orchestra playing in the background. It kind of gives me like Kanye Late Registration vibes, like a UK version of that. It's lush, like the sonics of it. It's emotional. It's I just thought it was a really good album, like really complete album. That's what I meant when I talk about like albums. Like when I talk about a complete body of work, like I think it's a short album, maybe like 10 tracks on there, and from beginning to end, it all fits. She's telling a story on there, and it's really good. It probably would be higher up on my list for me, but I haven't had enough time to sit with it to really give it that ranking. Incredible album. Oh, also have to add in, I love the little sprinkles of Cleo Soul throughout the album. Cleo Soul is fucking amazing. If you haven't heard her or checked her out, go check out Cleo Soul's music as well. Amazing singer, amazing songwriter, dope artist. Number 8, I got Lupe Fiasco's Drill Music in Zion. Sheesh. Crazy. The fact that he made this shit in like 3 days is fucking mind-blowing. Like, it's lyrically, it's so dense. Like, I don't even know how he does that shit. Like, the metaphors, the similes, the wordplay. To be able to write something so dense and so complex within 3 days, that needs to be applauded on its own. But aside from that, the music is really good as well. And Lupe's been on a nice run since he left that Atlantic deal he was in, or whatever his situation is. I'm glad he's putting out more music, and he's kind of back to that Lupe that I like since Drogas Wave, you know, the House project he did with Kalen Ellis, and now this project. Lupe he's been doing well, and it's all production from soundtracks, so it's like, what more do you really want? You know, Miss Mural alone, I could do a whole video on that song alone. It's incredible. Lupe's a genius, man. He's a genius wordsmith. I hope he keeps putting out more music. You know, he kind of hints at putting out projects on Twitter and stuff like that. I've seen him talk about different projects he's been working on, but you never know with that guy. So I'm just happy he's putting out music, man. And Drill Music in Zion is an incredible album. My only like real complaint with Drill Music in Zion is I wish the song Fish, I think it's called Fish, or it's spelled like Goldie or Gotti, but really it means fish, something like that. You know, Lupe likes to do some different shit. I wish that song was longer, because that song is amazing. But I think it's like a minute and a half long, 2 minutes. I wish there was like a little bit more. But other than that, incredible album. Keep going, bro. Keep putting out music, Lupe, please. One of your biggest fans right here. Keep putting out music. Number 7, I'll put Denzel Curry, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. Man, just honestly, just for Walk In alone. Walk In that's the best rap song in 2022 to me. Period. Like, Walk In is amazing. I think it was Cal Banks did that beat. The beat switch from the boom bap to the trap halfway through. The way he flowed all over that whole thing, like, that song alone puts him on the list. But to be honest, like, all around, it was a dope album. It was really good. What I appreciate about Denzel Curry is that he tries new things. You know, I've never heard like 2 Denzel Curry songs sound the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you go listen to like Kurt Cobain, and then you listen to Walk In, it's like you think you're listening to 2 different artists. And I think that's something that's kind of rare today. I'm used to artists nowadays kind of like, you hear one track, you know what the next track's gonna sound like already. But Denzel Curry, I feel like he's trying to push himself and push the limits and kind of mix and match genres and bend and create something new every time, and I appreciate that. Shout out to Denzel Curry. Number 6, Joey Badass 2000. Really good album. Honestly, man, I wanted to put this one in my top 5, but once the 5-1, it gets really difficult. But it's really close. It's really close. 2000, amazing album from start to finish. It's to be like when people do these like sequels and stuff like that. This is the sequel to 1999. Sometimes I get worried. I'm like, okay, are they trying to like live off of the hype of that old thing, or they like, you know what I mean? Like sequels very rarely are good, or very rarely are better than the original, or at least even live up to the original. So it's like, to me, he exceeded the original by far. Like 2000 to me is a better album than 1999, and it's weird for him to take so much time off. He's been pursuing acting and killing that. For him to take so much time off and then come back into rap mode and to be that sharp, like that was the best rapping I've heard from Joey Badass. So that was really dope to see. Number 5 is Freddie Gibbs, Soul Sold Separately. Man, Freddie just, to me, one of the most consistent rappers in the game, and has one of the best ears for beats. We're kind of used to Freddie going in with one producer, and putting in a body of work together that way. But on this project, he worked with like several different producers, like big name producers, like The Alchemist and Boy Wonder, Justice League, and even working with like James Blake is like something you wouldn't really expect. You wouldn't really expect from Freddie Gibbs, but it worked. Or Zipper Bags, K Tronada, that might be the best track on the album, and I wouldn't really necessarily think Freddie Gibbs and K Tronada together, but it worked. And and this is like, again, this top 5 gets sticky for me because sometimes it's interchangeable. Some of these albums, for a minute, this was my favorite album. Like I played this album a lot for sure. Jake One, gee, look at this list of producers on here. Jake One, Madlib, DJ Dahi, Justice League, Boy Wonder, Alchemist, Seven Thomas. Got Anderson .Paak on here, bro. He snapped. I love the theme too. And Freddie Gibbs is just funny. He knows how to put shit together in a funny way. I love the theme of the casino hotel thing. Like it's my guy got Scarface on the album, bro. Scarface. Stop playing, bro. Number 4, I got Ab-Soul Herbert. Man, what can I say? My last video I did was a review for this album, so go check that out and you can see my full thoughts and detail about that album. But just a dope album, man. A great return for Ab-Soul. I'm happy he's back. I'm happy he seems to be in a good mental space, and he's rapping at a high level and made a great body of work. Like a really good album, a great album. And sometimes I think it's his best album, but then you go back to listen to Control System, it's like shit, it's hard to say. It's either 1 or 2 or 1A or 1B. It's that close. It's a really good album. Number 3, Pusha T is Almost Dry. Kingpin Coke raps, bro. Like I don't know if you want me to say, Pusha T's the greatest drug dealer rapper of all time. Not meaning drug dealer rapper, like rapper that raps about dealing drugs. He's the best at it he's the best at it. Like I think it's no debate at this point. The way he does it and finds a new way to rap about it every time is like, you think you're gonna get annoyed of it or bored of it, you don't, because it's just, I think he said it himself, he's the Scorsese of that type of shit. So this album, again, one of his best body works as well. Half of the album is produced by Pharrell and half of the album is produced by Kanye. Like that's nuts. That's nuts in itself. And I will say those aren't their best beats though. Like, I mean, it could have just been those the ones he chose. I don't know if they're the ones that they wanted him to rap on, but those are definitely not the best Kanye beats and not the best Pharrell beats, but they are really good beats. And they work perfectly and they fit with Pusha T. I think there was only one record they actually worked on together, Pharrell and Kanye, the one with Cudi. But I kind of wish that Pharrell and Kanye locked in the studio together rather than like sending tracks. I feel like Kanye and Pharrell in the studio with Pusha, that might have been a whole different thing. But that might have happened 10, 15 years ago. I think Kanye's in a different headspace now. So number 2, Ramona Park, Broke My Heart. Vince Staples. Vince Staples might be like the most improved rapper of the last, I don't know, 5 years. Like, his last 2 albums were great. And it's like, his earlier stuff, I wasn't the biggest Vince Staples fan. I'm gonna keep it 1000. Like, I wasn't a big fan of his earlier stuff. I always liked his visuals. I wasn't really a big fan of his earlier music, but his last, I'd probably say his last 3 albums, it's been just elevating each time. And Ramona Park, Broke My Heart was close to being my number 1 album of the year. Like, I was not expecting it to be that fucking good and vulnerable and honest. And I think Vince Staples is growing into like a true all-around artist. He's making he's able to make more accessible music now, where it's not just, and with like really good hooks, catchy hooks. Like, there's a little bit of melody in there now. He's singing. His pen got a lot better. Really good album. Really good album. And Vince Staples is one of those people, like, he's one of the rappers that I would want to meet, like, in real life. Like, just he seems like a chill guy. He's funny as fuck. Just an interesting character. Like, that, I'm sure he's gonna get into some type of media game. His interviews are always hilarious and entertaining. But, you know, I hope he keeps making music too, because he's gotten really good at it. Number 1, K. King Kendrick, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Now, I know this is kind of a divisive album. You know, not a lot of people are kind of stuck in the middle. It almost reminds me of Yeezus a little bit, where, like, I remember when Yeezus first came out. Same thing with me. I was on the bus, I think going to the barbershop or something, and I was playing Yeezus, and I was like, what the fuck is this shit? What the fuck is this? And Yeezus is coming off what, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So it's like, my ears were not ready for that shit. Like, my ears were not ready for that shit. But after a few more listens, it started to grow on me, and I started opening up to something new. And now it's one of my favorite Kanye albums, and one of my favorite albums of all time, to be honest with you. Kendrick's album, I wouldn't say I didn't like it off the first listen, but it wasn't what I expected. It definitely wasn't what I expected coming off Damn. You know what I mean? That's the last album Kendrick put out. So it's like, the energy that he had with the Baby Keem records on Baby Keem's album, I thought we were getting like a really energetic album, I'm coming to fuck shit up type of Kendrick. I'm in some interview I read, there was reports of it having like a rock and roll influence. You know, when we got the Heart Part 5 video, it was nothing like rock and roll influence. It was more soulful, and you know, that's my bag right there. So I was in, and that song is incredible on its own. That's a masterpiece of a song in itself. The Heart Part 5 is incredible. So then I'm like, okay, I feel like we might be getting like a To Pimp a Butterfly type of feel. That's where my mind went to. Or maybe even a Good Kid, Mad City type of feel, because it's talking about the streets and what culture is, and how it has this just about the duality of what culture and being street really means, as far as being a human being and being a part of this thing, and how much you really owe to it, and what is really culture at the end of the day. And then I think he had a picture of it, almost looked like it was like a play script for Mr. Morale. And so then I was like, okay, honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I knew we were gonna get something theatrical though. It just had that feel from that video to seeing that script. It was like, okay, we're getting something theatrical, obviously. Listen to the album. I liked it on my first listen. I didn't necessarily, there were moments I truly loved, but it wasn't like a holy shit moment that I was expecting, where like Damn was a holy shit, he fucking snapped on this album. It was more like, holy shit, this is fucking, my first response was just like, holy shit, this is honest as fuck. Like, this is really honest. You're learning about this man's life on this album. Like, almost I'll kind of correlate it to like, this is like Kendrick's 444, talking about his infidelity, his problems with his marriage, being a father now, It's a brutally honest, reflective album. And it's funny because I am one of the people that loves the album, but it's at the same token, it's probably my least favorite Kendrick project, or album I should say. But I also feel like it's his most important album. I think a lot of people just aren't ready for this, to receive this album right now. I think for the year that I had in 2022, I was in a state to receive this album the way that I think Kendrick intended it to be, where it was like self-reflection, therapy, and taking a deep dive into yourself and trying to work on your demons. I think that's kind of what this album was for him, like a personal insight, and coming to grips with the fact that, I don't have to be this savior entertainer that you guys want me to be. I gave you guys To Pimp a Butterfly. I gave you guys All Right. I need to do this project for me, the soul of Kendrick Lamar, the person. And I'm always going to appreciate that, someone who gives themselves to the art and puts themselves in the art. And Kendrick's always been one of the most honest artists, and that's why he's probably my favorite rapper of this generation. It's not a perfect album, it's not like Damn, it's not complete, everything is perfect at all. There's parts of it that I don't like, there's parts of it I skip, but as a whole, as a piece of art, it's amazing. It's incredible what he's conveying, the things he's talking about, and I think that's another issue. I think a lot of people, they relate really to a lot of the shit he's talking about, and maybe they're not ready to face those things and face those realities. So maybe it can be like troublesome and it's hard to listen to. You know what I mean? It's like, it may trigger some things in your own mind, maybe in your past or whatever that you've been through, because he's touching on topics that not a lot of rappers ever do, not a lot of musicians do, period. So it's definitely a tough listen at times. Like it's not an album where it's like, I'm just gonna sit here, chill, play Call of Duty and bump it front to back or whatever. Like, it's not that type of album. Like, it's experimental. It's he's pushing the envelope. You know what I mean? Musically, it doesn't, even like the song structures, you're not getting hook verse. You're not getting that. It's like broken up differently. These interludes, you got Kodak Black coming in on the interlude, and Kendrick like it's actually a beautiful piece of art. Once you get out of your own head of it and your own expectations of what you want from a Kendrick Lamar album, it's actually a beautiful piece of art. And I think it's the most important album. And I think one day we'll catch up to what it's supposed to be and what it's supposed to do. And I think for the people that it was supposed to help and it was supposed to touch, I think it did. And I'm one of them for sure. And I'm sure there's many others. It's not his most successful album. Not really hits on there, like, but I appreciate that. And I think that's kind of the opposite of Kendrick Lamar and Drake, where Drake is like, I'm giving you hits for days. I'm always coming with hits. But then the album may be kind of lacking a little bit in substance. Kendrick's kind of the opposite. I proved to you guys I can do hits and I can do all that shit on Damn. Now I want to do something that's just straight substance, straight art. Kind of like what he did from To Pimp a Butterfly coming off of Good Kid, Mad City. It's kind of the same effect. Huge commercial success, then experimental and deep and honest. Huge commercial success with Damn. Same thing now here with Mr. Morale. You have to appreciate that, because after Damn going up the way he did, he could have just came right back and just tried to sell some more records and try to be the biggest artist and all that type of shit. But he didn't. He gave us a beautiful piece of art that, is about his life. And I think it adds another piece to the puzzle of the Kendrick Lamar story, another chapter. And I think people need to let Kendrick grow. He's mid-30s now. He's not going to be rapping about the same shit he was rapping about in his 20s. Like, he's a grown man with a family. I think it's what an artist should do is try to grow with their audience rather than trying to stay appealing to the kids. He's not a kid anymore. Why is he trying to appeal to them? He can let Baby Keem do that. Another artist on his label, his cousin. He can let Baby Keem appeal to the kids, but he's a grown-ass man with a family. Appeal to the people his age group, kind of like what Jay-Z did. If Jay-Z was still rapping about selling rocks on the street, it'd be corny. You know what I mean? I think people gotta let artists age and age gracefully instead of trying to keep them back to what they were doing before. You know, it's corny when a guy's that age and he's still just a thought in the club and just loose with it. Like, bro, you're a grown-ass man. You're supposed to be about your business and you're supposed to be giving knowledge to the youngins out here. I will say, and also I want to say, I've been seeing this thing go around the reviews and everything about this album, because it's been getting a lot of hate, which is crazy for a Kendrick album. It's kind of like the critic darling. But I will say, I've been seeing a lot of people saying that this album doesn't have replay value and there's not good songs on this album. That's complete bullshit. I will give you that this album is not a replay in the sense of I'm playing it one to the end every single time. Like, it doesn't have that replay value because, again, it's a double disc. It's a long album. There's a lot of interludes and intros and skits and this and that. But if you just take away certain records from it, like Worldwide Steppers, Die Hard, Father Time, N95, Rich Spirit, Count Me Out, Silent Hill, like there's songs you could just play standalone on a playlist. It's not like they're all, like, I get like you're not gonna play We Cry Together in the club. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Nobody's playing Stan in the club or when you're out with your friends or whatever. But you know, what do you want, man? Like, and this is the thing that's so funny. I think everyone just wants to kind of group think these certain things. It's like, because it's not the album that you wanted it to be, and everybody on Twitter is saying that it's trash, like the kids who don't even listen to this kind of shit, or the people that don't even listen to this kind of shit, now you want to jump on the bandwagon and say the same shit. Get out of here, man. This is what you wanted from Kendrick. You wanted him to do shit differently than everybody else, and that's what he's doing. The one thing I will say makes it not perfect, because I did say it's not a perfect album. I think that there's too many songs on it. It's not about I would take songs away, but I would try to shorten it a little bit. I think my biggest issue with the album really though is the year prior, on the Baby Keem record, he was talking about smoking on top fives. When I drop, I'm killing everything that's outside. Like, so when I heard that shit, and you know that maybe this is what happened to all the critics too, is like they thought that we're getting like fucking Control verse Kendrick, like, and that's kind of what I thought was coming too. I thought it probably wouldn't have fit this project, but like, I guess like the selfish fan in me wanted him to like go in on the state of what rap is right now. You know what I mean? But again, I guess he's just not in that part of his life anymore. He's been there, done that. Now he's a family man, and he's being real with where he's at today, and that's what you should want from an artist. Album of the year for me, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.